Hello everybody, Andy here from Glass Half Dead, the #1 kill team channel in the world, unless you are aware of any other YouTube channel that exists, actually, even ones that aren't kill team. Anyway, today I want to talk about LVO, the biggest kill team tournament that we have ever had, as far as I'm aware. It's going at 174 players. It's happening at the end of this month, so in like 2 weeks, okay? It's really interesting. So they have just announced, they sent an email to all of their attendees that they are not having a rules cut-off. Now that's very strange. If you are new to wargaming, allow me to quickly explain that. If you're thinking of, 40k, right, like the biggest tournaments around, they normally have a rules cut-off. What that means is that if any new rules are released, whether it's, in White Dwarf or a balance update or anything, there is a rules cut-off of between 2 weeks and a month, sometimes 3 weeks, before their actual start date. And then you will have to also lock your list in. Locking your list in obviously just means, for 40k, it means not just picking your faction, but also your specific list. In Kill Team, we don't have lists, obviously, we just have a faction. We can just say, hey, I'm taking whatever, Brood Coven, that's not a word, Brood Brothers, to LVO, and that's it. You don't have to, there is no list, there is no roster system. You just get every model and you take what you want per game. So LVO has said, hey, we're not doing this. There you go. Now, I thought that was really interesting. When I first heard it, I thought what they were talking about was the game is so broken that we are not going to make you lock in a list because we want to wait until the absolute last possible second to let GW fix their broken game. And I thought, oh, that is a damning statement from an FLG, that's Frontline Gaming's organised event. FLG, of course, being part owned by GW, and of course GW does official GW announcement streams, so it's about as official as you get for a GW, a technically non-GW event, but it is GW really. I thought that was a damning statement. However, I looked into it a little bit deeper, had a little bit of a chat on my Discord, and it turns out it's not quite that. And actually, I think it's something even more interesting. However, before we get to that, I would quickly like to say that would have also been a valid reason to do this. Look, I'm a casual player. This is not a video about the current balance of Kill Team, okay? However, as a casual player that doesn't care about the top tables, the game's fine because in a friendly scenario, I can say to my opponent, I don't want to play against that team because it is broken, right? Or I don't want to play on that kill zone or that particular map because it is broken, right? Cool. I can avoid all of the bad matchups. However, as soon as you go to any sort of official event or an event where you have to play, aka any sort of tournament, even casual, you will at some point have to presumably play into a thing that is broken. And I think that is wildly different if you're a casual player like myself. There are certain teams that I'm just not going to win, but it's not actually impossible for me to win. I'm just not good enough, and the skill gap that team allows my opponents have above me means, 99% they're going to win. However, in theory, I could win, okay? However, the top players, they get that, but they're good enough that they probably can win if they've also picked a correct team. Cool. However, there are some things currently in Kill Team where no matter what you do, if the opponent gets, initiative so they can stage first and stage in the right place, you literally cannot win, and that's an issue, okay? But those are things that I just don't have to worry about as a casual player. So if you want to know more about that sort of thing, go and obviously check out the better players out there. I will no doubt do an actual, hey, how is the casual balance of Kill Team video next week before we get the balance day slate, because I think it's quite an interesting topic. However, so what is LVO actually doing? Why have they not given a cutoff date for lists and locking in? Sorry, they have. It's the day before the tournament, just to just to clarify. There is an actual day, which is, I think their tournament, it might be Friday or it might be Saturday. I don't know if they're doing like a pre-game tournament starting Friday, or if they're doing, I imagine they're doing pods, finals. I'm not sure, though, top cut. So what they're doing instead is they're saying on the Thursday before, around midday, kind of hinting at when maybe they know something we don't know, right? Although we are guessing that we're getting the balanced data slate next week. That is their cutoff point. And that's very interesting. The reason they're doing it is because there are no physical rules for Kill Team. As soon as GW updates the app, all of your rules are gone. They will update the app and they will update the walk-on PDFs. And then the team that you thought you were bringing is not playable. It no longer exists in the world, okay? So what that means is, let's say you lock your team in 2 weeks before. This isn't just the case of 40k where some points get changed and some abilities get changed, but you have your codex. You have that and you say, well, here it is. This is what I locked in. And yes, the other rules have updated, but this is what I'm playing because this was before the cutoff. In Kill Team, because both the app and the PDFs get swapped at the same time, and we lose all access to those previous editions, unless of course we printed them off, but we haven't. The rules that you locked in with they no longer exist. There you go. And I think that's super interesting, and it's a little bit of a downside, if you want, of an all-digital rule set. Something that most people probably haven't really considered too much. So obviously, in this day and age, GW, absolute knobbers, and they do their absolute best to rinse us of all of our money to go and buy their cool books. And the books are super cool, no doubt about that, obviously. However, we've all like, yeah, give us a digital rule set. Let us download PDFs. Let us get an app, whatever, cool. Turns out that's not always the best thing when you're trying to organise a very large tournament. Now, I will also point out, obviously, Kill Team is not 40k. Kill Team does not have the same issues of having to do a last-minute swap of your team because it's 10 models. Let's be honest, you could probably smash that out in an evening if you absolutely had to, whereas in 40k, you literally can't do that because it's insane. There you go, just throwing that out there. There are different practical considerations when it comes to a small skirmish game compared to a full-size game. Do keep that in mind. So there you have it. GW swapping to an all-digital rule set has actually, in an odd way, made it a little bit harder to deal with version control when it comes to locking in teams for a tournament. Because let's be honest, if we changed our factions, if we changed our rules right before, the day before the tournament, and then GW says, hey, this team is just completely different because we've had to redo everything about it because we fucked it up. It's like, okay, well, that's not what I wanted to play, but I'm locked in. And frankly, in fairness, GW has gotten pretty good about not doing this for 40k and those big tournaments. But as you've no doubt seen, 40k and Sigmar got their balance updates in December. Underworld's got theirs last week. We're getting ours, fingers crossed, this week. Another interesting question, which I'll just quickly touch upon, is let's imagine that, ignore the digital rule set, ignore the actual reason for LVO saying, hey, we want to lock in at the last possible second, being pure practicality. Is it still a good thing when you know the game is fundamentally broken at the top level and it absolutely 100% forces you to pick a very small selection of teams if you're actually trying to win the game? I'm not saying everybody at LVO is going to pick those teams. However, probably quite a few people that are trying to win the tournament are going to pick those teams, right? Which is the same thing. Is it good that you hold off for as long as possible to let GW fix their rule set? Do you think that should have been done? Or should they have locked in 2 weeks before and said, deal with it, we know the rule set's broken, this is the game? Super interesting one there. I do not have an answer for you. No, I do, sorry. I don't know why I said, I think I was just being in like autopilot mode there. No, I think the game's fucked. and so they did need to wait as long as they possibly could. Also, the game is relatively small, so, you know, that's fine. Like, people can just relearn stuff 2 days before the tournament. I actually have no issues with that. Okay, well, anyway, a little bit of a turn at the end there. That wasn't meant to be too bitter. My bad if it came across that way. I am, of course, going to do a video next week for fun, why not, where I explain why it is so fucked, in my view. All right, well, thanks for watching. Bye.